How's our conservative doing over this? Judge dismisses cases against ex-FBI Director James Comey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, or Tish James. Bondi needs to go. Ooh, they mad. Uh-oh. Bondi is sucked from the beginning. All talk, nothing happening until Trump makes noise. I think she may have been a good district attorney in Florida, but for the nation, she's clueless. Funny how people thought this would actually go somewhere. What a joke and waste of time this all was, much like 98% of everything the government does. Well, this is what happens when you can't confirm someone's appointment and the delay tactics cause the statute of limitations to run out, at least on Comey. And you don't have a supportive judiciary that will finagle charges past the statute of limitations. Got to do everything by the book and then some. Oh no! Not having to do everything by the book when you're a federal fucking prosecutor. Oh no! Imagine having to do things by the book when you're talking about the government being able to criminally charge U.S. citizens and deprive them of their God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution. Not having to do things by the book. Oh, that's so lame. No more amateur hour, and if you can't get a confirmed person to bring the indictment, at least file something to stop the clock on the statute of limitations. Failure. I don't understand how this happens. The indictment came from the grand jury, not a prosecutor. Do you think the grand jury just like, here's a box of crayons, we're going to take 23 of you, put you in a room, and we're going to see what you come back with? What is it? What do you This feels like the pine tar incident with George Brett. If the belief is that a prosecutor was appointed incorrectly, the remedy is to remove the prosecutor and replace them. It doesn't undo grand jury indictments. These guys watch too much of Sicario? What, does that happen in Sicario or something? It's still not over. The silver lining is that even if all attempts are exhausted and they still evade prison, it at least sends a message. Or it at least will send a message. What the fuck is the message? The swamp protects its own. Democrat judge. Unreal. One hand washes the other. For now. Hold on. What do we got? Mike Davis. There is overwhelming evidence. Former FBI Director James Comey lied to Congress and obstructed a Senate investigation in a crossfire hurricane. The biggest scandal in American history. The biggest scandal in American history. Oh my God. There's overwhelming evidence that New York Attorney General Tish James lied on her mortgage application and committed bank fraud. Oh my God. The prior U.S. attorney refused to prosecute these Democratic operatives. So the Attorney General picked a new one who was unafraid to follow the law. What is the Democrats' response? Unsurprisingly, an Obama judge hand-selected a Clinton judge. Then the Clinton judge tossed both indictments. The first sentence, by the way, in which the Clinton judge personally and gratuitously attacks Lindsay Halligan makes it crystal clear this judge is a Democrat partisan. What is the first sentence? On October 9th, 2025, Lindsay Halligan, a former White House aide with no prior prosecutorial experience, appeared before a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia. I'm sorry, are facts hurting our feelings now? You have to do the Indian check on everybody. Just kidding. What is this? On Sundays, tens of thousands of pages of exhibits were released from the Fox News and Smartmatic case. I went through all of them to look for new exchanges. On October 2020, for example, Lachlan Murdoch told Sean Hannity that Trump could not come back if he attacked Fox. Sean, sorry, but the president is not coming back on air if he uses it to attack us. It's the same rule we have with the other side. This is a golden rule. Thanks. Huh, crazy. They all play ball with each other. When asked in a deposition whether he took any steps to make sure that hosts with shows on Fox did not endorse claims about the 2020 election being stolen, Rupert Murdoch responded, no. I was very happy with the way Fox News was handling it. January 2021, email to Lachlan Murdoch. Rupert said that Lou Dobbs should be fired. Just take him off the air and negotiate later. He also said somebody should be fired instantly. Then Donna Brazile should be elevated because it's hard to attack a black woman. King. I think a lot of these exhibits are the same ones from the Dominion case. Hi, Rana. I understand RNC purchased Sean Hannity's book. I'm wondering if the same courtesy might be extended to me. My last two books about POTUS have been New York Times bestsellers. We did. When does your book come out? We have already made some commitments for the next several weeks to Sarah Senders and Corey and Bossy. They give us exclusives for the first week and then sign books. Today, no one told me, and here I am trying to get Rossi and Corey to buy my book. I will give you exclusive and signed books. Oh, Virginia and Puro. I work so hard for the party across the country. I am the #1 watched show on all news cable all weekend. I work so hard for the president and the party. An exception, please. The RNC is literally the Republican National Committee. They just try to, so the RNC buys like 5,000 copies of the book, so they're automatically bestsellers, and they hand them out to people or something. Good one. Okay, Mark Kelly. Uh-oh. The Department of War is reportedly considering recalling Senator Mark Kelly to active duty for possible court-martial after he urged U.S. troops to defy orders from Trump and Hegseth. Wait, real quick before this one, sorry. This other guy says, since this ran this morning 4 hours ago, I've gotten countless text messages from House Republicans agreeing with this sentiment and saying, why the hell should we stay in Congress if all we're going to do is vote on censures and be a potted plant? Why not talk to Mike Johnson and fucking do your fucking jobs, you fucking morons? I don't know. Okay. Wait, hold on. Just on that last story. MTG had comments as well. Fact check. True, but it's worse than people inside the bubble know. When you talk to real Americans outside the wicked snow globe of Washington, D.C., myself and many of my colleagues came courageously roaring into 2025 with legislation that matched the 2024 electoral mandate, only to be totally sidelined by Johnson under full obedience of the White House. Executive orders are temporary. Q memes have not, and obliterated the deep state. And my colleagues constantly trying to pass loyalty tests instead of demanding what is right won't help Americans pay their rent or stop corporations from buying up homes, buy their groceries, provide good paying. Passing effective legislation that gets signed into law is permanent and actually solves American problems. True. Now that House members are switching gears into campaign mode and will be fighting for their lives, our legislative majority has been mostly wasted. Our best shot was the first 6 to 9 months, and when Republicans likely lose the midterms, it will become total and complete political war and gridlock once again. What is the convincing message for 2026 and likely 2028? It will be the American people asking candidates, what tangible thing have you done for me, and how did it, or will it, make my life better? True. Okay, this was the official statement from the Department of Department of Defense. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly. In accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice 10 U.S.C. 688 and other applicable regulations, a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. This matter will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. The Department of War reminds all individuals... Why would you even announce... Even if this was true, why the fuck would you announce this? The answer, sorry, I'm asking that rhetorically because it's not appropriate. The answer is because they just want to be able to put pressure on people without having fucking anything, right? That's why. Look at what Hegseth said. The video made by the Seditious Six was despicable, reckless, and false. Encouraging our warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders undermines every aspect of good order and discipline. Their foolish screed sows doubt and confusion, which only puts our warriors in danger. Now remember, when Donald Trump made an hour-plus speech outside the Capitol saying that our election was rigged and stolen, we were going to lose our country, you have to fight like hell or you're going to lose your country, and all this shit, because he said, I know you'll be marching peacefully or whatever, that freed the entire speech. There was no violent intent whatsoever. But when senators make a video saying you can ignore unlawful orders, that's a coded message to tell the whole military to abdicate their responsibility to the Constitution? Okay, dude. As was announced, the department is reviewing his statements and actions, which were addressed directly to all troops while explicitly using his rank and service affiliation, lending the appearance of authority to his words. Wow.
What do you make of his investigation into Mark Kelly, and what do you make of his response that it's just intimidation?
The White House is supportive of the Department of War's investigation into Senator Mark Kelly, and I think what Senator Mark Kelly was actually trying to do was intimidate the 1.3 million active duty service members who are currently serving in our United States Armed Forces with that video that he and his Democrat colleagues put out. Senator Mark Kelly well knows the rules of the military and the respect that one must have for the chain of command, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging. It's very clear.
Wow.
Mark Kelly, and what do you make of his response?
It's crazy that, like, remember how much these ghouls make up this, well, context, nothing Trump said is actually bad. He didn't actually incite anything and blah, 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 right? But this is the video that's, like, pushed them over the fucking edge. Oh, my God. One sec.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day.
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army.
Our Navy.
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
Our Constitution.
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Like, shouldn't your response just be, oh, yeah, well,
Sen-
no big deal, because all of our orders are legal? I don't know. Do you think they thought this video would be such a shit-stirring firestorm with the GOP or not really? I don't think it is shit-stirring that much. I think the administration is, like, floundering right now.
To try and give a wink and a nod to the 1.3 million. They were leaning into that experience to try and give a wink and a nod to the 1.3 million active duty service members who serve in our United States Armed Forces and essentially encourage them to defy the orders of their commander in chief, which is illegal, by the way. Let me be very clear. Not a single order this president or administration has given to our military has ever been illegal, nor will it ever be. This administration respects and abides by the law, and these officials know it. They are trying to sow chaos and distrust, which is a very dangerous thing to do within the military's ranks. The sanctity of our military respects and relies on law and order in the chain of command, and that's what this administration is trying to say, and that's why the Department of War opened up this investigation against Senator Mark Kelly today. They were leaning into that experience to try and give a wink and a nod to the 1.3 million active duty.
It is good, though. Somebody pointed out, when you think about it, the GOP is falling for the Dems creating news cycles right now. That is true. Technically, this is good. They're responding to this shit instead of making up or inventing some other fucking retarded shit.
Orders are presumed to, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging. It's very clear, and not a single one of them, since they've been pressed by the media, and I'll give you guys credit for that, can point to a single illegal order that this administration has given down, because it does not exist. And that all orders.
Good one. Finally, some good news on healthcare. Texans will be able to purchase ivermectin over the counter without a prescription starting December 4th. This is massive. Yes! About time, government blocking for zero reason other than backing big pharma. Who's selling you the ivermectin? Small pharma? What? United States-based account.
We're learning President Trump is planning to unveil a new health care proposal. And at this point, we're still waiting to know exactly what's in it. But we're told it could include a temporary extension of the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, which are due to expire at the end of the year.
No, that can't be allowed. I don't think that can be allowed. That needs to be an all or nothing, right? That would allow them to escape a lot of the pain that should happen as a result of their negotiations over the last shutdown. Somebody says, new White House to delay healthcare proposal after significant congressional backlash. According to two White House officials, the announcement has been delayed. One of those officials citing strong congressional backlash to Trump's proposed plan. Trump's plan to make an announcement as early as Monday, proposing a framework to address healthcare costs, which would include an extension of Obamacare subsidies.
We're at the center of the government shutdown. However, the subsidies could come with some fresh guardrails that could include new income limits and a requirement that everyone pay some form of a premium. Now, we should note that if the subsidies do expire, millions of Americans are expected to see their premiums more than double next year. Zach Cooper is joining us now. He's a professor of health policy at Yale University. Zach, thanks for being here. As I noted, we are very much still waiting for specifics here. I'm sorry, this has actually been, sorry, Zach, we're getting breaking news while I'm talking to you. I have learned that the White House has postponed its expected unveiling of this new health care proposal. It was expected to be unveiled today. We'll learn more, hopefully, about that in the coming moments. But again, this is postponed, but we can talk about the ideas here.
This is like when they were doing the subsidies and shit was changing like every fucking week or day. I'm sorry. It was like every couple days shit would change.
What's White House response to that, and what can we expect will happen next, Caroline?
Well, what I will say is that everybody knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed. And I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
All right, we'll be watching. We just showed us what's White House response to that, and what can we expect will happen next.
Meme break. Who linked this? You should be banned. When I was 22 years old, I commissioned as an ensign. Ensign? Is that how you pronounce that? In the United States Navy and swore an oath to the Constitution. I upheld that oath through flight school, multiple deployments on the USS Midway. Flight school? The Navy is boats. What an idiot. Miami Lakes, Florida, USA. Armed Cuban woman, Ansley Pacheco, defends her husband from thieves, ends up in a gunfight. Jesus Christ. Stop. Those are pants. Hold on. Damn, chill. God damn. Sorry. Jesus. Stop. Okay. Stop. Jesus. Stop. Okay. I can't watch this. This is... Okay. Thieves come into the house. Do they shoot at their kids? There's like people on the couch, but they're just like chilling. It doesn't look like anybody is shooting yet. Jesus.
Ashley Pacheco declaró en exclusiva a América Noticias que vivió momentos de horror al escuchar los gritos de su esposo y por ello
The criminals, the thieves are in the living room. It looks like kids or somebody. Oh my God, that other... I don't even know how old that girl is. Okay, it's okay. Don't know. Doesn't matter.
defender a su familia mientras les
Oh my God.
advertía a los intrusos que no dispararan porque su hijo estaba presente.
Fui para donde está la mesa noche de mi marido.
A couple of shots inside.
La cargué y fui para la puerta y ya ahí estaba el.
Wait, I don't see anything else. Did she shoot back?
Que no me estaba.
Los dos hombres encañonaron el partido de los Miami Heat. Según abrió
Well, now I see them.
los gritos aterrorizada por los gritos decidió.
I'm guessing they ran away. Oh, okay. Well. Okay. Jesus, we're back. That video was ludicrous. That was our OnlyFans ad. The strange thing is, I don't know, I guess you should be aware of this as a homeowner. Depending on whatever. But if you're inside your home and this is you like peeking out or whatever, I don't know how to draw people at all. Of your bedroom door, if you like lean back here and you're just like standing here, this is my Roblox human. You can absolutely, very easily, with any pistol, shoot through drywall and kill somebody. So you can't, this is like not, this is concealment, but not cover at all. I think a 22 might punch through drywall. I don't know. Hold on. She's Hispanic. There's probably a giant metal cross decoration on the wall to deflect. Well, we could see the other side, so. Drywall test.
Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there.
Hey.
Probably didn't see me either. Could have killed me, but I guess you don't know which guns are going to do that because we haven't gotten through the video yet.
True.
Which guns are going to penetrate the most through drywall? This has been a topic of debate that's been talked about for a long time. Well, which one's going to be effective enough to put down a home intruder, whether that be a skinwalker or what, Micah?
A skinwalker disguised as an Amazon employee.
Yeah, same thing. Starting guest star. Do you know the? Oh! Quartz in 22 with a JK Armament suppressor.
Jesus
and
Christ.
14 and an aim point. You know what? You never know what you're dealing with. But I think a lot of people actually do use 22.
Mark IV, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, exactly. This is a Mark IV, basically. Really?
Yeah, it's got it.
Straight through?
I'm feeling this. I feel like it's gonna go through.
Okay.
This is like a $2,000, $2,500 fucking 22. Jesus Christ. I don't even know the body of the pistol. Maybe the pistol might be more expensive.
Yeah, that smokes.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say like, oh, 5.56 will break up in drywall. That's a let round, bro. I think we're in for a bad time. I think you're just killing your neighbor no matter what you do at this.
Damn. Don't shoot through walls, guys. Not good, okay? We've got, what do we got? Meme or semi-serious? We'll do a semi-serious one. What's this?
Just say I was at all soybeans.
We went to Arkansas. The farm crisis will shock you.
Just say I was at all soybeans and $150 an acre loss. You're looking at $450,000 of loss. For just doing my job, I'm paying an additional $450,000 instead of making anything. I've never seen a crisis like this. Without intervention, we're talking about generational loss of farmers.
How did he vote?
In the last year, farm bankruptcies here in Arkansas have nearly doubled. The story in the media is that's because of Trump's trade war with China. And now that China has agreed to a deal, the crisis will pass. But that story is wrong.
The tariffs are a problem, but think of it as being in a coffin, and we're going to nail the lid shut. The tariffs are the final nail.
This crisis was here before he did the tariff thing. This is a crisis that's been building for decades.
Farmers here told us a bigger story. A handful of companies have built a global system in which they always win, and American farmers are lucky to break even, all supported by our tax dollars.
They're just laundering tax money. None of it stays in the local community.
And while our farmers are dependent on growing crops for countries like China, we import more of our food than ever.
The bigger story is we're very vulnerable to the whims of other countries.
With thousands of farmers on the brink, we wanted to know, how did this happen? And if a deal with China won't save American farmers, what will?
We watch the markets every morning at 5:45. I get up and listen to Standard Grain. And Joe says it's 5:45 in the morning and the markets are.
Scott Brown is a row crop farmer who grows corn, rice, and soybeans.
I want to know what the price of soybeans is, how much we've exported this week.
The price of soybeans hit a high of $17 a bushel 3 years ago, but this year it's down to $10. That means many farmers will operate at a loss, but not just for soybeans.
So for cotton.
Have you watched Alex O'Connor versus Dinesh? No, people keep telling me to watch it, but I don't have that's a religious debate. Why the fuck would I care? There's an interesting thing. I don't know how they're going to present it here, but there's an interesting thing where you also have countervailing forces. Like higher crop prices are good for the crop industry, but they're bad for consumers, right?
Soy, corn, and rice. The average loss per acre is $150 to $350 per acre.
Adam Chappell farms 2,400 acres, about 2 hours from Scott. In September, Adam and Scott attended a meeting called for farmers to speak to their federal representatives.
Hundreds of farmers from across the state came to voice their concerns about the current state of farming.
It was a three-day notice on this meeting. We went from having 15 to 20 people to over 500.
We were in the start of harvest. For 500 farmers to get off the combines and go stand in a meeting is a big deal.
Wow. It was like a funeral in there. This is generations of farms teetering on the brink.
I'm in the worst shape right now that I've ever been in.
5 of my customers have committed suicide. That's how serious that is.
Without immediate government intervention, we're going to lose 30 to 40% of our farmers again this year. We lost 25 to 30% last year.
Farm debt is expected to reach $560 billion this year, a new record high. Facing pressure from farm states, President Trump has promised a federal aid package for farmers.
And we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers.
Over the last 8 years, the federal government has sent farmers over $130 billion in emergency aid. But when you follow where that money actually goes, it reveals who's really profiting from this system and why more bailouts won't fix it.
So when I get an aid package, okay, that money will never come to me. It comes straight through my hands into whoever I owe the money to.
When federal money is sent to farmers who have debts, like Adam, Scott, and most small farmers, they quickly pass it on to the companies they borrowed from to buy the products they need to farm, like seed, fertilizer, and machinery. And the combined costs of those inputs have risen far faster than what farmers can sell their crops for on the market. Farmers pay 3 times higher on inputs than they did in the 1990s.
What has gotten us to this point is the mergers and consolidations of ag input suppliers. In 2015, Monsanto and Bayer merged. They were competing against each other. And that was during Obama's administration. They didn't do a thing about that. They let it happen. They let it happen.
God damn it.
When I started farming, we had 5 or 6 Arkansas-based seed companies. Monsanto. There's none. There's none. They're all owned by Bayer or Pioneer.
In the last 40 years, thousands of seed companies have merged into 3. 46 fertilizer firms have merged into 4. And just 2 farm machinery companies dominate the markets for tractors and combines.
Just for easy numbers, say I'm going to make $500 an acre gross on an acre of whatever. Well, those companies know that, and they will price their stuff up to like $490. The lack of competition is the reason they can keep those prices inflated, and there's nothing we can do about it.
That ability to raise prices is a big part of why, while farmers are just breaking even, major input companies maintain steadily high profit margins.
I'm calling whatever the heck is happening in the world of agriculture a bull market of insane proportions.
They're going to push us up to the brink, and then when they tip us over the edge, they're going to go to the taxpayer for the balance. Instead of lowering their prices and taking a cut in their margin, they're just laundering tax money. This is it. That's the old elementary school. All the schools are closed now.
So you guys bitch about like fucking
buying corn or soy,
like housing costs and shit. I bet you could buy a house real cheap over here. Okay.
That's the old elementary school. All the schools are closed now, but that's what's left of the elementary school. High school's completely gone. They demolished it. Had parts stores, restaurants. You know, even just in my lifetime, we've lost a lot. This was a furniture store, bank. When I was a kid, cotton plant probably had 1,500 or 1,600 people in it. The difference is when I was a kid, there was probably 40 or 50 farmers around here. Well, now there's just like 4 or 5 of us left. And every time one of them goes out of business, that's less business for the parts store, that's less business for the restaurants. So every time consolidation happens, rural America dies a little bit more.
Wow.
Since 1997, the U.S. has lost over 300,000 farms and now has fewer farms than ever in its history.
Wow.
In a functioning market, farmers with high input costs could just raise their selling prices. But on the selling side, they're getting squeezed just as hard by their buyers, the companies that control the global grain trade.
There's really about 4 big grain companies.
Ben Lilliston is a farm and trade policy analyst who's looked at the influence of big grain companies like Cargill, Bunge, and Archer Daniels Midland.
These 4 big grain companies control almost 80% of the market in the U.S., and in many regions of the country, there's only 1 or 2 of them. Farmers are relatively weak players in the system, price takers in economic terms, meaning they have to take the price that the grain company offers.
We cannot negotiate with a buyer like ADM or Cargill and say, no, $10 isn't good enough, I'll give you my soybeans for 12. They'll just go, well, okay, get out, go on then. We have leverage against nobody. We are under monopoly rule on the input and output side.
Wow.
The global grain companies buy crops from farmers often below cost and turn them into processed food, animal feed, and biofuels.
They want as much product on the market as they possibly can get. They don't want any limitations, and they want to pay prices as cheap as they possibly can when they're buying corn or soy or whatever.
For decades, they've lobbied for free trade deals that allow them to move crops.
Wait, that's crazy. Is he saying that they want to buy for as little as possible and sell for as most as possible? No. In a capitalist system? What?
Across borders without cost, claiming this will benefit American farmers.
We think trade, whether it be NAFTA or elsewhere, is a good thing, and the American agricultural economy has benefited significantly since NAFTA was put in place.
It's been sold to farmers that we're going to control global markets, and this is going to lift prices for you and make it very profitable for you. Unfortunately, that hasn't actually worked. It's actually been a race to the bottom.
American farmers now find themselves in competition with farmers in Argentina and Brazil to sell their soybeans. For many years, China was their biggest buyer, but since Trump's trade wars began, China has pivoted to South America. That's been bad for U.S. farmers, but not for the global grain companies like Cargill, which is among the biggest agricultural exporters in Argentina and Brazil.
Their interest is very different than a national interest like the United States, our interest, or even a community level interest.
So far, the Trump administration has not followed through this year with an aid package for farmers. But in October, Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that the U.S. would extend a $40 billion...
Do you think consolidation is good? Hell yeah, consolidate it all into one company and then expropriate and run it, comrade, by the U.S. government. I mean, consolidation of anything has its pros and cons, right? It's like every market. We see it in the tech market. We see it in everything else. We just don't have a good framework, I think, as Americans. It doesn't feel like we have a good framework by which to deal with consolidation in any market. That's what it feels like to me. But
financial lifeline to prop up Argentina and its government led by Javier Milei.
I mean, we bailed out my competition. I mean, they're my competition. And we sent taxpayer dollars to them like it was no big deal and hurt my market. Milei is big buddies with our current administration. The biggest investors in Argentina are big buddies with Bessent. I mean, they worked together for years.
Bessent, a former hedge fund manager, owns thousands of acres of U.S. farmland.
Are we tipping too far in one direction with regards to consolidation? Everyone seems to think so. I do. That's why I said, my take is a little bit extreme, I don't think businesses should ever be able to sell to other businesses. I think that creates a toxic capital environment. I think it's not good. Destiny, what are the pros of consolidation? Economy of scale. The larger a company is, the cheaper it can produce its stuff, the more efficient it can allocate resources inside of their internal markets or whatever. I mean, arguably this could lead to inefficiencies too, it just depends. But like, think about like your Google account, right? Oh, well, Google is massively all over the market, so I can use one device with one account to check my email, to log into all my social media accounts, to check my calendar, and it's synchronized with my desktop and my phone and my watch. Your consolidation, it just helps. Like you can do more. It's more efficient to consolidate things, but the efficiencies when they get to monopoly levels can start to come out in bad ways, or it can start to cause like inefficiencies theoretically. But it's defining what is an inefficiency there. Like when you reduce the ability for other companies to compete, then it allows a monopolistic firm to capitalize on their monopolistic control of a market in a negative way that wouldn't happen if there was more competition in the market. Sorry, that was
from which he has earned around $1 million a year.
China has been boycotting American soybeans. Do you see a real light at the end of the tunnel there?
Well, Martha, in case you don't know it, I'm actually a soybean farmer, so I have felt this pain too.
When Trump and Scott Bessent say, we're for the farmers, we love the farmers, I'd say same thing that my papa and everybody's always told me. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. It's that simple. What have they done to help us at all?
Trump's Justice and Agriculture departments recently announced a joint investigation into high input costs and the relationship to corporate consolidation of the farm economy. But it's just the latest in over a decade of similar federal investigations that have failed to...
That's definitely true depending on the service/product, but the lack of competition has an awful effect. I don't disagree. That's why I don't think you should be allowed to sell a company to another company ever. Make them go fucking bankrupt.
Stop mergers or break up existing monopolies.
The first thing we need to address is no competition. Because when there's no competition, I have no option, and I have to take whatever these people are willing to give me.
If the Trump administration responds to this crisis with another toothless antitrust investigation, another farm bailout, and another Band-Aid deal with China, nothing will fundamentally change for American farmers.
We're probably going to have to break up those companies. And I think that's the larger story. Is this really a resilient farm system?
Don't you think that the market would solve for companies creating systems, etc., to facilitate more efficiency between companies in a more decentralized economy? Yeah, but then arguably, like at its worst, you're just, in a way, you're pushing the problem down the line and you're creating more extractive elements that maybe aren't good for your end product, right? So like we can imagine for hospital stuff, there's theoretically you can go all over the United States to get medical treatment or whatever, but or we'll say like you can get different types of medical treatment, but like we want to smooth these costs out, and it's hard to do this with hospitals as they are. So we introduce another player, insurance companies, to smooth out like the volatility of major medical expenses. And so you can do that, you can pay insurance, but now you have like another extractive force that's sitting on top of your healthcare market that when people say like, oh, they don't offer any value, that's not true. They do offer value. They reduce volatility and arguably increase access to healthcare that you wouldn't have otherwise. But like, it doesn't feel good. It feels like a purely extractive element that's not really providing you with the service that you want. Because when people think of healthcare, they don't necessarily think of access to healthcare or smoothing the volatility of uneven payments. They think of like getting medical care. And that's true of any industry, right? So like, let's say that you had 50 different cell phone manufacturers, and let's say somebody wanted to manufacture video games that worked on all 50 cell phones. Well, rather than making it for every single cell phone, another company might pop up that creates some type of framework that translates, I don't know, your proprietary code to kernel instructions across a multitude of devices. I don't know, some bullshit like this, right? But eventually these companies would pop up that do this level of integration, and now you've basically kicked your can down the road. Well, there's 50 different systems. Well, that's okay. Let's just like develop for like React or whatever, and now it'll work across all the systems. Like, okay, well now you've just moved the monopoly to another platform, and now that platform becomes like a financially extractive element that might not feel good to work with. I'm not arguing for or against consolidation. I'm just saying there are pros and cons on either side, but when things shift too far, like theoretically, I don't think you want to market with 500 different competitors, because now you have bad access to information. It's hard to make the appropriate decision on what's better or worse. It's just like, that's not good. But you probably don't want to market with only one or two players, because now they can, drag their feet when it comes to making a better product or innovating for their, services, because you're kind of like bought into their platform. You're kind of stuck there no matter what anyway. There's a lot of friction moving from one to the other. So yeah, you want to strike a balance somehow.
Or should we be thinking different companies? And I think that's the larger story. Is this really a resilient farm system? Or should we be thinking differently about maybe not overproducing so much for export and start to think about producing more food that Americans actually eat and diversifying what people produce? We used to have more of a supply management system, but we've gotten rid of that.
Supply management is the name for policies that establish price floors for important crops so that farmers don't have to fear operating at a loss year after year.
Give us a price floor, which makes us performance-based. So if you guarantee me $12.50 a bushel for my beans, it costs $11.50 to raise them. You've guaranteed me $1 a profit on the bushels, right? Then it's on me to go do the work. I go make the bushels so that I increase my profit. Would that not make more sense? Would that not kind of end the bailout program if you had a floor?
With a big...
Are you really saying that the medical insurance system isn't exploitative? Exploitative how? What do you mean? You don't have to buy insurance. You could just not have any insurance. No one's forcing you to buy it.
Ag companies hate this.
No, because they want us beholden to them.
Cargill and ADM is forced to pay farmers fairly in the market versus taxpayers having to subsidize.
One study found that a supply management system could have saved taxpayers nearly $100 billion in farm aid payments over 2 decades. Instead, that money largely flowed through farmers to some of the world's largest corporations.
We need to think about what's best for farmers, what's best for rural communities, the workers.
Well, all the money is going to flow through because they're always buying for their inputs, right? I don't know. Okay.
In the system and consumers. And right now we have a system that's what's best for global grain companies, global meat companies, and the input suppliers.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you like...
Okay. Okay. Aren't you fined if you don't have insurance? In the United States? No, it hasn't been the case since Obama left office. That was like the case for like 1 or 2 years, I think. That's all you have to have insurance in California? Okay. Maybe in some states you do? I don't know. When I lived in California, I didn't have to, but that was 3-4 years ago. Maybe they changed it since then. I'm once again back to bitch about how horrific TSA and American air travel is. After I turned down facial recognition, oh my God. The TSA agent couldn't verify my real ID that I waited 3 hours of the DMV to get because his computer was glitching and wouldn't recognize it. It has a photo of my face on it and the big-ass government-approved star in the corner, but that's still not enough. The TSA agent made me remove my glasses to see if the picture matched my face, ran my ID through the scanner 3 times. When I finally asked why he couldn't just use his eyes and see that my face matched the ID, he responded with, why can't you just get your face scan? Boom! Got him. Fucking got him. Also, why is the government forcing Americans... Oh, wait, where was I? Wait. I despise that Americans being treated like terrorists is the norm to travel between states in our own country. Also, why is the government forcing Americans to get real ID when it doesn't even work, and blue states are handing them out to illegals anyway? Not true, but okay. We live in a full-on surveillance state. Oh, no.
Okay, I am once again back to bitch about the TSA because I just went through. I'm here in LaGuardia. And it was the worst experience ever because guess what? The real ID that I waited at the DMV to get for 2 freaking hours despite making an appointment wasn't enough. The fact that my face is on it wasn't enough. The fact that this guy looked at my ID made me take off my glasses so he could make sure that my face matched the exact picture of my face on the ID. That wasn't enough either. He had to run my ID through the freaking machine 3 times and it still didn't work. And by the 3rd time I finally said, why can't you just use your eyeballs and look at my ID and see that it's a real ID with my picture on it? Why is that not enough? And he was like, why can't you just get your picture taken? I don't understand why this is the state of traveling in modern day America. Also, to add insult to injury, illegal immigrants can get real ID, so why the hell did I wait at the DMV for 3 hours of my freaking life? I said 2 initially. It was between 2 and 3. I don't even know. I made the appointment initially, but because it's the DMV in modern day America, my appointment actually came 2 to 3 hours after the initial time that I booked it for. Why did I wait there for 3 hours to get a real ID that doesn't even work, that isn't even valid? I show my real ID to the TSA with my damn picture on it, and it's like, yeah, well, we have to ask this robot, and we can only let you through if the robot says that it's actually you. And also, we can't use our own 2 eyes for the ID that you waited for that the government issued with this real ID store. We also have to take your photo, which we're not going to delete. We're going to lie to you about and say that we are, but we're really not going to. Why is this the modern state of traveling in the United States of America? It's freaking ridiculous. I'm exhausted with it, and I think I'm just on edge too, because it's like I'm here in New York, I was reporting on Canal Street, you have hordes of illegal aliens, of all of these rude-ass Africans that just stand on the street, hawking their fake goods, they're extremely aggressive, like they're openly clearly illegal immigrants, and it's like at a base level, we can't even get them off the street, and then you as an American are trying to fly in an American airport from one American state to another American state, and you're treated like you're freaking terrorists. I'm just exhausted with it, and it's ridiculous. I'm just mad about the real ID.
Damn, imagine how illegal immigrants are being felt, or not illegal immigrants, imagine how ordinary Americans feel when they're being stopped by ICE, checking for illegal immigrants, when they're literally citizens just because they're brown.
So for those of you who know me, I hug. Yes, like, you're an intense hugger. Whoever is like hating on a hug needs a hug themselves. I will give you a free hug anytime you want a hug. My love language is touch, if you will. But seriously, that hug, so I will give you a...
My love language? Isn't your love language things that you use with like your partner?
Play-by-play. Walking, they just played the emotional video. I'm walking over, he's walking over, I'm starting to cry. He says, he's so proud of you. And I say, God bless you. And I touch the back of his head. Anyone who I've hugged that I have touched the back of your head when I hug you, I always say, God bless you.
How much of the fear over stuff like face scanning is legit, do you think? I mean, if you're going into an airport, they could probably scan your face with a fucking camera anyway. Everything is so high resolution and everything. It just seems like a stupid fight to have there.
That's just me. If you want to take that out of context, go right ahead. Again, that to me shows that you need a hug more than anyone else. So if anyone... They were acting like you touched the back of his ass. I feel like I wouldn't...
As opposed to what? The front of somebody's ass?
Get as much hate if I did that versus... But no, seriously, so now when I go and hug people, I'll bring them back in and be like, I obviously didn't give you the right hug, but come let me touch the
Where do the hands go?
I don't know what to do with my hands.
What can I touch?
I know.
not me. I'm always like, when you touch the back of my head, I'm like, oh, she's feeling the extensions.
That's another thing. People think my hair is fake. It is very real.
My hairstylist told me your hair is real. She's like, oh no, that's all real.
This is real. I know some women, they like come and touch the back of my head. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're feeling this through the weave.
Yeah.
They're patting the weave.
What does that hug look like again? Let's do a hug analysis. Hold on. Fuck, I've never actually watched this before. Damn. Why? Oh, I've never seen this before. Oh no. Jeez. Whew. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let her go. Let her go, King.
But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
I love the music, dude. Day banging. 100%. Yeah, I've seen all the JD Vance wedding ring stuff. I don't know about that, but Casey trying to update on Ethan Klein lawsuit.
Okay. So, first of all, my intention.
What's wrong with the hug? Anything, any like hands near face or head, in my opinion, it's just a very, very intimate thing. If somebody's giving me like a full-bodied hug and somebody's putting their hand on the back of the head, that's just a lot, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but
Of this statement is not to blame Ethan Klein or accuse him of malicious conduct, so please refrain from making any hateful posts about him. If he believes he has a copyright claim, he is in.
also I'm thinking like, was he still talking? Was he talking to her while his hands were still on her? Hold on. Oh man, not necessarily. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. It is what it is. I have a feeling that a woman like Erica Kirk would not be happy if her husband hugged another young woman that way. Let me just put it that way. She would absolutely have death dagger eyes for that woman and her husband for the rest of whatever event they were on.
Full post about him. If he believes he has a copyright claim, he is in malicious conduct. So please refrain from making any hateful posts about him. If he believes he has a copyright claim, he is entitled to pursue it. My intention is to shed some light on the financial strain this is causing me and my family, and also why I made a settlement offer to Ethan. So when this lawsuit began, it was unclear how myself and my family were going to survive this. It is only due to the unbelievable generosity of others that I have been able to afford the devastating financial effects of this lawsuit. I will forever be grateful for the kindness and support that I've received during this dark time in my life. We have raised just over $49,000 on my GoFundMe. I have also contributed another $5,000 from various marathons and fundraising, bringing the total up to $54,000. All of these funds were deposited into a separate bank account that I opened exclusively for legal expenses. None of these funds have been used for any personal expense. They have been used exclusively for my legal fees.
Guys, if the hug isn't that weird, go hug either of your parents with a hand behind the head. Well, like I think you can get away with it because it's a little bit more natural for shorter people. It's like with my mom, I think that almost happens naturally. My mom is like 5'1" or something. It's like when I hug her, my arms are like always over the shoulder and my hand is usually like on the back of her head. But I'm trying to think, if I were to hug my dad and I were to reach up to put my hand on the back of his head, oh man, that's just some gay shit. Oh my God. I feel like you'd think I'm trying to make out with him. That's just a lot. That's just a lot for a taller person to put your hand up there. It's like, oh, my king, we need to dump this Indian wife. I need to get with the white nationalist. I don't know.
These funds for any personal expense. They have been used exclusively for my legal fees. These funds are not going to last much longer, given the needs of the litigation and the work that is being done to defend against Ethan Klein's lawsuit. In September, I made a settlement offer to Ethan for $17,500. This offer was publicly revealed by Ethan to his Instagram followers. This settlement offer that I made was in no way, shape, or form an attempt to make a payday. It was because the looming threat of financial ruin is a stress that I would not wish on to anyone. My mother, father, and sister all struggle with disability and housing instability. They are my family and they depend on me. Just this month, like many other low-income Americans, my mother and disabled sister had their food stamps taken away. Under the current political climate, the future of funding for other assistance is uncertain.
Yes, so you're thinking the difference between a civil violation and a crime. What is a copyright violation? Copyright is civil stuff.
I cannot afford to fail them. I simply want this nightmare to be over so that I can go back to providing my family with my full support. Ethan Klein is suing me for $150,000, which is the maximum damages for malicious copyright infringement.
Is your case civil? No, it's for rape and child porn and all the other things, whatever you read about me on Twitter. Yes, my case is civil as well.
I believe it is highly unlikely that a court would find me liable for copyright infringement at all, and certainly not malicious copyright infringement. My offer was tied to the maximum damages for normal copyright infringement, which has a maximum damage of $30,000. Considering it is unlikely there are any damages at all that I could have caused, even if I am found liable for copyright infringement, my offer of $17,500 felt very generous. For me, that is a lot of money, and it would have come directly from my own pocket. On this note, I want to...
Malicious isn't part of it at all, right? So I believe, since he registered that video with the Library of Congress before the video went live, that allows him to forego the having to prove the malicious part of the lawsuit in order to be awarded the $150,000 in statutory damages. He just has to show that they willingly violated the copyright. They don't need the malicious part. I believe that was part of the registering it with the Library of Congress of what helps him get around. So now the statutory cap is up to $150K instead of capped at $30K.
Clarify that any donations that I have received are being used for my legal defense costs against Ethan, nothing else. These funds will not be a part of any settlement offer. In the event that we were to settle, I will take responsibility for any settlement, and any remaining funds would go towards the remaining parties that are also being sued by Ethan.
Destiny, has anyone here actually hugged a grieving person before? Those hugs tend to be a lot more emotional. That hug looked like a showy way of saying, oh my God, thank you for your support. Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. I thought we were going to disagree. Because like, yeah, but because those people are usually like looking down, they're burying their head in your whatever, they're not. But the idea of like them saying like, I'm so sad, let me reach up and hold your beautiful head. Yeah.
These funds will not be a part of any settlement offer. In the event that we were to settle, I will take responsibility for any settlement, and any remaining funds would go towards the remaining parties that are also being sued by Ethan. I have no intention to keep any money from this fundraising for any personal use whatsoever. If we are unable to reach a settlement...
So can you just preemptively register anything with the Library of Congress in anticipation to sue people? Yep, I think that's basically what he did.
If we are unable to reach a settlement soon, this could stretch all the way to December of next year and cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in lawyers' fees through the end of the trial. To be clear, I don't make anywhere near this kind of money. Like most Americans, I live paycheck to paycheck.
How would you know if any video that you react to has been registered with Congress the day before? There might be an online registration you could look up, maybe.
I do not have any personal savings. Over the years, I've been stretched very thin because I help support multiple family members. I want to make it clear to Ethan, I will gladly set aside my ego and do whatever is necessary and consistent with my principles to resolve this matter and get back to what matters most to me, helping my family in this devastating financial climate. I feel deeply guilty even asking for community funding during such difficult times because I realize I'm asking for help from people who are also facing financial hardships. Since this lawsuit was announced, it has resulted in a barrage of hate and harassment that has been incredibly mentally taxing. Every day across all of my social media, I am relentlessly reminded that my life could be ruined.
What happens if you genuinely can't afford lawyers and get sued and the person suing you won't take a settlement in a civil case? I have no idea. Maybe you just ask do you ask for a default judgment? Does a default judgment automatically mean they get exactly what they're asking for, or does the judge just make a decision? Or I'm not sure.
That myself and my family could wind up living on the streets, that Ethan is going to foreclose on my home. All realities that feel very real to me right now, and all being used by hateful onlookers to push me into killing myself.
It's called being judgment proof. You just ignore it and move on with your life. Really?
The thought of dealing with the constant doxing, threats to my life, and harassment for another year is extremely dark. This treatment wears on a person, and it has left me feeling extremely drained, isolated, and depressed. Moving forward, I'll continue to provide any updates on any future developments. It may end up being a long road, and I'm going to be working hard to keep up with the legal fees every month for as long as is necessary if this litigation is not settled soon. I've changed my GoFundMe goal to better reflect the cost of this sort of litigation. Again, these funds are exclusively for my lawyer fees. This is not money that will go towards any sort of settlement or to any of my personal expenses. Please consider donating or even signing up for a monthly donation. Check out any of my links below. You can also support by tuning into any of my live streams and social media. Even just some positivity in the sea of negativity means everything right now. Thank you all so much for listening to my side of the story. And again, thank you all for the love and support. Okay, that's all I had to say. And yeah, obviously I'm reading from a script. Like, obviously it was something that I wrote. And I don't know, like, I don't want to be like criticized for like coming on camera and like crying and shit, because it's not something that I want to do. Like, I've been put in this position where this is what I have to do to survive. And like, I'm doing this knowing that it's going to result in like the whole fucking hate brigade, you know, like Asmongold, XQC, all of them are going to go live and make a video and make fun of me and laugh about how, you know, I'm going to lose everything and all this other messed up shit, and they're going to further profit off of my pain. You know, it just really sucks the position that I've been put in, and I just hope that I can move on from it soon. But if I can't, then I'm prepared to...
Wow, Beb, thanks for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs.
You know, keep on moving forward and keep fighting. But in order to do that, it's like I have to make myself emotionally vulnerable. But yeah, I can kind of answer some questions. Really should have settled immediately. Good luck. You're saying that, but that was never like really an option. People keep on saying things that they have no clue what they're talking about.
True. Pretty frustrating, huh?
So yeah, you should really like keep away from just saying things that you don't really know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys.
You feel bad for it? Yeah, I'm glad I'm not suing her, because if I was a pussy and I was suing her, I am a pussy, I would probably drop it because I'd feel bad. I just feel like you need some kind of concession. The issue I have is that like these people would never, ever, 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 ever have any recognition that what they were doing was wrong if it was happening to another person that they don't like. So it's like, it's hard, like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to feel bad because it's like, because I feel like there's a world where you drop it and then she's like dancing on stream about how much she memed him and owned him and all right. I was at a cafe in Brussels ordering coffee. Barista asked me for my name and wrote it on a cup. I caught myself and said, wait, did I consent to you storing my name? She put down the marker and looked at me confused. I explained that under GDPR, names are personal, identifiable information, and asked to call her privacy officer. She sighed and said they don't have one. I immediately called the police. 20 minutes, the cafe was closed and an official investigation started. It feels damn good to add regulatory value to the society. God, I'm based. Imagine if you told them you were lactose intolerant, and then, with the CCTV images that captured you as well as your name, the consequences for processing and controlling what is now sensitive medical data. I cannot even imagine a jail time the barista would face in that scenario.
Here's why I'm not married yet. My parents keep asking, so I'm just gonna send them this video. 1. Dating while being a public figure.
Why make this video? Okay.
Has its difficulties. If I go on a dating app, I'm either bombarded with people asking if it's really me, or I get banned because they think I'm catfishing myself. Meeting up with a stranger is risky enough, but even more so after instances where a guy will pretend they don't know who I am, and then I find out they knew all along. I also
Why not just go on Raya? Or I'm sure there are other like celeb dating apps. Or date in a friend group, no?
think that as a career-oriented woman, I don't want to settle for someone who's insecure about what I do or wants to control me. I'd never want to be that way towards my partner. 2, I went through a rather traumatizing experience that made it hard for me to feel safe and trust others. Once you see the emotional, psychological, and even physical impact that someone can have on you, it makes you cautious about entering into anything new. I guess you could say I'm on a romantic cooldown of sorts. And lastly, I simply didn't feel it was ever the right time or opportunity to get married in my early to mid-20s. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Between a pandemic, the economy being in the toilet, and there just being bigger things to worry about, it's kind of nice to see that people aren't rushing into marriage like they used to. I also try to think of it this way. What if it's the last time I'll ever be single? I might as well enjoy it, right? But I am a hopeless romantic at the end of the day, and I truly believe everyone has their perfect match somewhere out there. I hope you already have or will find yours too.
Okay. Stop. Hassan Piker praises communist China despite ongoing genocide. It has become far more tolerant. Why do I care about this?
But
oh, okay. I don't care about this. Oh no, wait. No. Sam Harris.
What happened?
This can't be real. He didn't really say this. He didn't really say this. Please don't. Come on, Sam. Did he really? Did I miss that yesterday? He said that at the beginning of his thing?
I'll give you a list and then you address them all. Is that okay?
Well, I mean, this one's worth just hitting off the tee because
all right.
I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for having brought the hostages back, right? I mean, I think that's, I have no problem saying that.
Why?
Right, so square that with accusations of Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, I can readily admit that that was a massive achievement. Whatever happens next, I mean, there's not going to be peace in the Middle East as a result of this ceasefire. So I'm very skeptical and pessimistic about the outcome. But just that piece, getting all the living hostages back, was massive. There was no Democrat who was going to do it. President Kamala Harris.
Didn't Biden get literally 2 times as many hostages back? Why? Yeah, this is like the obsession. We're like, I'm not obsessed. I'm not obsessed. I'm not obsessed. Look at how not TDS'd I am.
This wasn't going to do it. Biden wouldn't have done it. Many of his weaknesses as a president, as a person, translated in that specific area into strengths, right? His unpredictability.
No, they literally didn't. What are you talking about? Trump was in office for like almost a fucking year before Israel finally, it was like 8 months before Israel finally decided to wind down their fucking war. Oh.
His unprincipledness, the fact that he could just throw over the chessboard and walk away for another year, right? I think he got more out of Netanyahu and more out of all the parties.
What did we get? I'm sorry, I missed a lot. I'm sorry, what did we get out of Netanyahu? What did we get from Netanyahu again? Somebody tell me this.
To that negotiation, then a more principled, more methodical, more process-oriented expert on geopolitics would have, very likely. So that's one area where sort of the madman theory of politics, I think, worked for him.
Okay.
And
it literally didn't. We literally had to Israel fucking bombed an air force in Qatar. We had to give Qatar fucking security guarantees to even get them to mediate agreements or whatever because Israel fucking bombed them.
That's to the good. That does not compensate for all the other damage he's done to our country.
Okay, fair. And I want to hear both of these, right?
Okay.
But I want to put some more to you that I would say are positive things, right?
Okay.
We get asked a lot which VPN we actually trust.
Yeah, I feel like Sam Harris is a little bit brain broken on Islam, so you have to kind of view him through that lens a little bit. What do we got going on?
Just your costs are up versus a year ago. Groceries, 85%. Utilities, 78%. Healthcare, 67%. Housing, 66%. Gasoline, 54%. The bottom line is this. Americans feel like prices are rising in each and every single part of their lives, rising, ever climber, and they just don't feel like, Kate Baldwin, that they can catch a break.
The Treasury Secretary in new comments kind of dismissed the impact tariffs is having on inflation, also saying that prices are going to be coming down in weeks. Some other prices are going to be coming down in months. What do Americans think about that?
Yeah, they think he's full of it. That's exactly what they think. I mean, just take a look here. Tariffs raising prices right now. I'm going to come over. Kate.
Not good. That's a not good number.
Side of the screen, 71%.
How dare you?
How dare I do that? 84% of Democrats, 74% of independents, and even a majority of Republicans. When you can get a majority of Republicans to agree with majority of Democrats, you know that the pain is being felt by the American public right now. The Treasury Secretary can try and tell the people something, but they can feel in their pocketbooks. They simply put, don't buy what he and this administration is selling them when it comes to tariffs.
You know, and Harry, one thing we've heard over and over again is the president and many of those around him blaming the Biden administration for where inflation is right now. Do people agree with that?
No. You know what? I want to quote Judge Judy, but I'm not going to. I'm merely going to try and say it's like they're trying to sell ice up at the North Pole when it comes to this. More responsible for the current economy. 62% of Americans say it's Donald Trump. Just 32% say it's Joe Biden. Look, Donald Trump did, in fact, inherit an economy from Joe Biden, but now we are nearly a year into the Donald Trump administration. If the Trump administration is trying to push the buck over there, simply put, the American folks aren't buying it. They say at this point it is Donald Trump's economy, and what is happening in terms of inflation is his responsibility.
That's what happens when you become president.
Who knew? You know what?
You inherit the economy.
That's exactly right. If you want the power, you get the power. But with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, Harry Anton in the quotes. Thank
God.
you so much, my dear.
Spider-Man.
World where you would ever go back to Twitch? Like, would they have to apologize to you? Like, what do you think it would take?
There is a way that I would go back to Twitch. If Dan Clancy stepped down and there was new management.
Wow.
Then I would go back to Twitch.
Wow.
That's about it.
So you want that guy gone?
I have no confidence in the people who are running that business that they're doing the right things or will ever change for the better. Like, take a look at the reaction to what happened to TwitchCon, right? They got
Yes.
they essentially have someone there who really doesn't want to be there, but they say, well, you got to kind of be there for the contract. Where's the security? Where is the attention to care for these people who you're making be there because they're your talent?
Yep.
And then what actually have they done in response to what happened at TwitchCon?
Well,
There
they
was a
lied about
public
it.
Apology.
Yeah.
Exactly. First they lied.
Yeah.
You're right. They lied. It didn't happen like that. Then they doubled down. Oh, no. Then there's an apology. Now, didn't this just happen a day or two ago? We did a $100,000 donation. Okay, great. But what did you do to solve the problem? Who cares what money you gave? Did you actually change your culture, change the security? I don't care what money you threw because you have big dollars. Fix the fucking problems. Then maybe people will be happy. Why do you avoid the problems? People call them out for this shit all the time, and they don't actually address the problems. So I'm not going to go back.
Somebody said there's a new Gary's economics video. Oh no. Why would you do this to me? UK budget, the end of democracy.
Welcome to Gary's.
We don't watch anything about the UK in here. We don't give a fuck. Let me tell you about my poor crack-addicted sister that is homeless that I can't help for some reason. King. Yeah, watch this for 1 minute. You're like,
They made Jimmy Carter give up his peanut farm! His peanut farm! Hi, hey. Ugh, news. Listen, we all know that Donald Trump, who I guess is the president, also does a lot of scams and crimes and has a lot of very troubling conflicts of interest. But here's some news. Let's put it all in one place. I think with all the boat murders and authoritarian roundups and diarrhea videos, it might seem almost quaint at this point. I mean, we talked about this in the literal first episode of this iteration of the show 7 gosh darn years ago. Sure, the empire sucks. Trump's violating the emoluments clause of the Constitution and could have been impeached last year. And sure, he recently told his rich buddy and former advisor about his steel tariff, so the dude dumped a bunch of stock before the announcement, which is just a fun way of saying they did some crimes. 7 years! Oh my god, look at me. I'm talking about Star Wars and Trump, all disheveled. So different back then. Like and subscribe, by the way. Press the button. We're almost at 1 million subscribers. They send you a gold-wrapped chocolate bar when that happens, and I want the chocolate bar so bad. My point is that yes, this is an old problem. It's so old, in fact, that I talked about this issue even earlier, before the original iteration of this show even existed. But that doesn't make it not a problem. If anything, it makes it much worse. It's like a shed you never get around to cleaning, and you just stick a tarp over it and try to ignore the sounds of possums mating. And the longer you wait, the more empowered and horny and numerous those possums get. Like, he could have been removed from office for this any day. So maybe it's time to rip the tarp off, get out the weed whacker, and I guess murder those baby possums? That's mean. Let's just impeach Trump. Again. I'm really rich. So shiny. All the ways Trump profits off of us, US. I mean, technically every president benefits from the office. You get your own house for a while. And of course, after your term or terms, you got your book deals, your speaking tours, podcasts, or selling paintings to help you and others forget about all your war crimes. It's a net gain. Unless you're one of the ones who got shot. Point is, President Donald Jackamoff Trump isn't the only president to make a buck off the office or have some conflicts of interest. Most recently, we had the whole thing with Hunter Biden allegedly using his dad's influence as vice president to obtain more favorable deals with foreign companies. However, there wasn't any actual proof of that. Obama had a little controversy too. Coming into office in 2008, reporters uncovered a mortgage scandal involving a below-market interest loan that the future president received as a U.S. senator. But the Federal Election Commission found no foul play since that interest rate was available to other customers.
Okay. Is Comey case supposed to be without or with prejudice or without if Comey's indictment is not found to be feasible? Well, I mean, it's not on the substance of the indictment or anything. It's just about the prosecutor. So I imagine it would be without prejudice, right?
Well, Jeffrey Epstein is back in the news.
Okay. Do I want to watch this thing before the Dinesh stuff. Hold on. Why movies just don't feel real anymore. Is it worth it?
Take a look at this shot from the latest Jurassic World movie.
I'm Joe Biden insane.
Now compare it to this one from The Lost World.
I wasn't looking. Okay.
Take a look at this shot from the latest Jurassic World movie.
Okay.
Take a look at this shot from the latest Jurassic World movie. Now compare it to this one from The Lost World.
First one looks better. 100%.
Did you notice that difference?
Yes.
I deliberately picked some without dinosaurs because that's not what this is about. It's not about CGI.
Look at how much more saturated and beautiful the colors are. Yes.
It's about a deeper level of immersion, a deeper feeling of realness and vividness that is so often missing today. I mean, look at this movie. This was shot
Horrible.
in 1959.
Terrible.
Yet it still feels like you could step right into the frame.
Not me.
And I love that, you know, watching The Lord of the Rings made me want to visit New Zealand. Those movies made me feel like I could actually stand in those same rugged landscapes. But The Hobbit, not so much. And I know complaining about modern movies looking kind of bland or fake isn't exactly the most original thing to do, and you might already be thinking, well, that's just because of digital cinematography, it's just bad color grading, bad lighting, and also bad CGI actually. And you're right, these are all definitely relevant to the discussion, but they're also just technical elements that in themselves don't fully explain the essence of this problem. I always felt like there had to be deeper philosophical and psychological mechanisms at play here, like some sort of first principles of cinematic reality and our immersion in it. And I figured that if we truly want to tackle this issue once and for all, then we need to understand those as well.
Perceptual realism. Whoa.
First, to very briefly define the obvious, the idea of a movie feeling real is not the same as a movie being real. We understand movies are staged, that they are constructed realities, not actual ones. And yet, we can still be sold on the realness of their fictional worlds, even if they contain fantastical elements like live dinosaurs or Terminators or aliens. And that's because despite recognizing movies as being essentially make-believe, we can still experience them as perceptually real. A perceptually realistic image is one which structurally corresponds to the viewer's audiovisual experience of three-dimensional space.
Wow.
Film scholar Stephen Prince wrote in a Film Quarterly paper. Such images display a nested hierarchy of cues which organize the display of light, color, texture, movement, and sound in ways that correspond with the viewer's own understanding of these phenomena in daily life.
Wow.
Because of this, unreal images may be referentially fictional, but perceptually realistic.
Jeez.
Simply put, according to the concept of perceptual realism, a movie feels real when it triggers the same mechanisms through which we also construct and navigate our own reality. In this sense, it's actually kind of like being in Inception.
You create the world of the dream. We bring the subject into that dream, and they fill it with their subconscious.
How did Nolan fold that whole city?
As I was going back through some older
That's
movies that I remember feeling highly immersive, that I remember having this kind of perceptual realism, one thing I noticed was just how much of the image is often in focus, and how frequently they filmed from a distance to include a lot of the environment around the main subject of the shot. Just look at how much of the background is perfectly readable here, how clearly you can make out faces and objects in the distance, the textures on the ground, and so on. Images like these really invoke a sense of place, of three-dimensionality. As the renowned film scholar Noel Carroll also once said in an interview, deep focus long-shot compositions like these invite the audience to scan the frame for meaning in a way that was more analogous to the way we perceive affairs outside of the movie theater.
Wow.
That is, they were more realistic because they were more like ordinary perceptual experience. And I thought this was interesting because it really draws attention to the form through which the audience engages with an image instead of merely focusing on the content they observe within it. This, for one, largely circumvents the age-old discussion of digital versus film photography, in which the latter is generally seen as the more realistic medium, and the former is often blamed for being the reason why movies look worse now. But just look at The Revenant or A Hidden Life, two relatively recent movies that were digitally filmed. I think these look just as good as most classic movies do.
Wow.
Maybe not necessarily in a way that emulates the old film look, but certainly in one that offers those same rich and immersive images that absorb you completely into these stories. Now, you might protest and argue that this is still mostly a matter of content, that it's because these movies feature a lot of real locations and, in particular, a lot of beautiful exterior environments.
Now he's going to show you Dune 2.
And generally, I'd say that you would be right.
And Blade Runner.
And that having real elements in a
2049.
movie does matter, especially in a time when it's so easy to just throw up a green screen and decide on the specifics later, or to set up that new volume display and just match the lighting as closely as possible. Compared to these efforts, movies that feature concrete locations and tangible elements do tend to hit different. They really make you feel like there's a kind of animus to the real world, a kind of soul that, when captured rightly, then also adds a latent substance to the image that just isn't there in a digitally constructed one.
And you can tell the difference, that this is not a plastic mountain, that this slope here is no joke at all.
But then again, consider Avatar: The Way of Water.
Fuck. I haven't seen this
Say what
movie.
you will about the story, but the fully computer-generated alien planet that James Cameron has created here, to me, is just beyond beautiful, and in many ways more engaging and more perceptually realistic than some movies shot in the real world. Which again demonstrates that, in its essence, this achievement is a matter of form. It's because of the way this movie cultivates a distinct perceptual relationship with the audience. Take this sequence, for example, where our main characters first arrive at the Water Tribe. Notice how much information is available here in any given shot, how well these subjects are integrated into their surrounding environment, and how rewarding it is to scan each image for immersive details. You may not actively register every little thing that's in focus here, but that doesn't matter as we also don't do that in real life. I think that even if you only catch those details on the edge of your peripheral vision, it still adds tremendously to the perceived reality of this world.
Wait, at the end of Avatar 1, does that
jump scare alert?
Does the Jake dude, does he like become a fucking Na'vi person? What? I don't even remember how the movie ends.
World.
How does
Now,
he become
jump scare
one?
alert. Contrast this with the movie.
Does he do like a brain transfer? I don't even...
Like Quantumania.
I don't remember how it ends.
This movie also mostly takes place in a fully fantastical realm. But unlike The Way of Water,
Whoa.
it is one of the worst and most fake-looking films I've
What?
ever seen. Of course, there's a lot of qualitative differences between these movies. One has a well-thought-out world with actual ecosystems and animal genealogies. The other is just a grab bag of what feels like AI hallucinations. One has state-of-the-art graphics. The other, well...
Nowhere left to run.
But anyways, if we try to limit ourselves
Wait,
to those...
that's not real. Or that was supposed to be... Wait, what was the name of that villain? There's no way that was supposed to be serious. I don't believe that. Wait. MODOK? Ant-Man, Quantum, MODOK. MODOK? Moduk? Wait. MODOK's creation scene. Oh, wait. Wow, this guy's a hater. This looks amazing. Okay, show me the guy. Hold on. Here he comes. Oh.
Welcome back to the quantum realm, Scott. I've been waiting a long time for this.
What? Is someone in there?
Oh, yes. A destiny you cannot
Name drop.
escape. Our fates have always been forged together. Ever since that day we met.
Wow.
Whoa! Oh, this is gonna be a big reveal. Hold on.
Darren?
History down here.
Wait. Darren?
Surprised to see me?
Yeah?
It's the big guy.
It's supposed to be.
Cassie? I almost didn't recognize you.
It's supposed to look like this, okay?
I became the ultimate weapon.
That's what this is? Look, Darren.
Yeah, it's supposed to be goofy, all right? This guy's a hater. He's a hater.
specific techniques that enhance perceptual realism, the differences are also night and day. Instead of offering those rich, immersive images for the audience to scan like they would in the real world, the backgrounds in Quantumania are often completely blurry and visually uninteresting. And aside from the occasional blink and you miss it establishing wide shots, which still aren't in focus for some reason, most shots are medium close-ups that only center the subject and don't integrate them into their surrounding environment. In other words, they hardly invoke a real sense of three-dimensionality, which in turn negatively affects their perceptual realism. And while Quantumania is an extreme example, this is something we see in a lot of movies today. This is the cinematic look, right?
Yes,
the focus
cinema.
That's only if you want to make your movie look like a documentary. But if you want cinema, then a shallow depth of field and medium...
Sounds like this guy posted on the videographer subreddit too much, and they made fun of him for shooting everything with a 1.4 aperture lens.
Close-ups are your main instrument.
We gotta close it up, guys.
And you know, I'm not even saying that in an entirely critical sense. In fact, when used purposefully, I do think it can invoke its own kind of realism, which I'll get back to in a bit. But when you just assume this approach as the default standard, like Zack Snyder, for example, seems to have done, ever since he became his own cinematographer, it feels like his movies have become virtually two-dimensional, then it feels like it does come at the cost of perceptual realism, of the audience actually feeling grounded within the world of the story. And especially when combined with a rather careless use of digital effects, it can even undermine the realness of the actually real elements of an image. I'm always reminded here of the 2016 Assassin's Creed movie. In the promotional material, they boasted that they had a stuntman perform one of the highest freefalls in cinematic history for its iconic leap of faith scene.
Damn.
It should have been an absolutely accelerating moment. And yet, in the actual movie, it ended up looking like this.
That's awesome!
Like, would you even have known this was a real stunt if they hadn't told you? Does this man diving into a brown CGI sludge, obfuscated by digital volumetric smoke, in any way trigger any actual perceptual instinct? I bring this up because what it also demonstrates is that the problem is not just that modern movies don't have enough deep focus long shots. No, it's the more general lack of consideration for what filmmaking techniques and cinematic elements actually create an immersive experience for the audience. Going back to Jurassic World Rebirth, the movie...
Wait, before he says this, and maybe he will say this, there's like the retard take, I think, that like CGI ruins films, and then there's like the midwit take of like, actually, you can make good films with CGI. I feel like on the... Sometimes I just get the feeling, but I don't know. Okay, I don't really know this because I'm not a director. But sometimes I think that like, when you're CGIing everything, the issue you have is that the director doesn't actually get to sit in an environment that he's filming in. And so like the natural ideas that would come to him maybe in an environment, like looking at everything, just won't come to him. He just has to pre-plan all of it on a computer and then just like think about what he wants it to look like, and then that's it. And there's no like experiential like feedback from any environments or scenes that environments that he's in for scenes that he's shooting, because it's all just on a computer screen. Sometimes I wonder how much that impacts things, but I don't know.
We opened with. Here too, the cinematic look is definitely part of the problem, with many blurry backgrounds and medium close-ups that leave little room to scan the image for meaningful details, which stands in pretty...
How does this map onto your concept of directing animated films? I don't know for animated films if there's much like where you're like, oh my god, that shot. Well, it's just not, I don't think it's like the same. I think animation is just it's a completely different thing. You're trying to capture something different or show something different when you're animating stuff.
Stark contrast to the original movies. But more than that, there's also many environments here that don't feel real because they just clearly aren't. I can imagine the filmmakers wanted to...
But if I wanted to argue with you and I wanted to say, if I could argue that if you're trying to emulate like real life shots, that animation sometimes is based on real life shots anyway, right? Because wasn't there a movie, Studio Ghibli real life versus animated shots, where they actually got, I don't know if it was a director of photography or whatever, they got a guy to go out and like do pictures or whatever that they drew. I don't want to say tracing because that's cringe as fuck. What am I thinking of? Oh, Your Name? Was this a Studio Ghibli film or was this some other fucking cringe loser? Rotoscope? No, shut the fuck up. It was inspiration. They had pictures and they were inspiring of the things that they drew or whatever. Fuck. It wasn't even this. There were other... There are animes where they do this, where they take real life pictures and then they use as like references or when they do their drawings, yeah. This is what I was thinking of.
Evoke the more rugged feeling of a prehistoric...
But also, I don't think you're not trying to get somebody to place themselves on like an animated film either necessarily. It's just a different type of experience, I think.
Details, which stands in pretty stark contrast to the original movies. But more than that, there's also many environments here that don't feel real because they just clearly aren't. I can imagine the filmmakers wanted to invoke the more rugged feeling of a prehistoric world by digitally heightening its landscapes to these almost fantastical proportions. But you know, this isn't Avatar, this isn't the world of Pandora, it's ours. A big part of what sold me on the dinosaurs back in the original movies, and still does so today, is precisely how the environment around them always felt so tangible and ordinary. Like, that's just the real world, that's a forest, that's a field. Those are all places I feel I could visit myself. And having the dinosaurs interact with that familiar world made them feel more real too. The over-manipulation of modern imagery, and the resulting feeling of fakeness, even when they contain real locations
this movie was
or
so
real practical
horrible. God, I hated it. Sorry.
Effects is part of a bigger issue that we briefly need to address here, and that's the amount of post-processing that's done on movies nowadays, and the more general shift from filmmakers having to make sure an image was exactly as they wanted it before rolling the camera, to them being able to make more, if not most of those decisions, after the fact in post-production.
Whoa.
As Patrick Tommaso already explained in his video, this idea of avoiding definitive filmmaking choices and of wanting to have more options in post-production has also significantly affected how modern movies are shot in the first place.
This looks amazing.
You might get into post, and that room won't even be the same room anymore. They're gonna say, you know what, that window, we don't even want that window anymore. The light doesn't make any sense. We gotta reshoot this whole thing. So what do? We shoot it bland. We shoot it boring. We light it flat. We don't commit.
And to understand how, besides resulting in more boring-looking visuals, this also affects realism and immersion, we have to talk about the concept of indexicality.
Whoa, true.
Based on the work of philosopher Charles Peirce, an index is a sign that has a direct physical connection to what it represents. Simple example, a footprint is the index of a foot, with the former being directly caused by the latter. In traditional cinema, a filmed image was seen as an index.
Oh, so that means that when we found Bigfoot's footprints, that means Bigfoot exists 100%?
That it captured, because that image was physically caused by real light hitting the photosensitive surface of celluloid film. It is for this reason, this direct material connection between subject and image, that film was, and still is to some, deemed as the more realistic medium. And if you look at some classic movies, this does seem to explain that more ineffable quality that they tend to have. You know, that intuitive feeling of the image being a more direct, a more pure, and more authentic reflection of the filmed reality.
Wow.
In a way that goes beyond just the focus settings and angle of the camera.
Wow.
It's as if there really is a direct material connection, a true indexicality to the image that just isn't there anymore today. You know, digital cinematography is considered to have no indexicality because it lacks that direct causal relationship. Instead of physically imprinting light on celluloid, a digital sensor converts light into data, into a set of digits that, as film scholar David Davies explained in his paper on the subject, might accurately reflect the film reality, but is also inherently mutable and therefore not a true index of it. However, as we also discussed earlier, there are digitally shot movies that I think come close enough to having that same feeling of unaltered reality. And inversely, modern movies that are shot on film, like Jurassic World Rebirth for example, tend to be significantly modified in post-production anyways, arguably to a point where any true sense of indexicality is lost. And indeed, as Davies also concludes, there is no reason to think that the viewer's experience of a moving image in a fictional film is affected either by the indexicality or non-indexicality of the image, or by her beliefs about the indexicality or non-indexicality of the image.
True.
So if the nature of the image isn't necessarily linked to the experienced realness of a movie, why bring all this up at all then?
True.
Well, it's because even though the physicality of the filming process might not matter, it's the feeling of physicality in the final image that does. And this brings us to what to me is probably the most interesting idea in this video.
What?
If there's been one recurring theme so far, it's the idea that a movie feels more real and more immersive when it establishes a more direct connection to the senses of the spectator. In her book The Skin of the Film, film scholar Laura Marks makes this connection even more explicit as she explains that film is grasped not solely by an intellectual act, but by the complex perception of the body as a whole. This view of perception implies an attitude toward the film, not as something that must be analyzed and deciphered in order to deliver forth its meaning, but as something that means in itself. Basically, Marx argues that cinema is not just a visual medium that we merely watch and listen to, it is an embodied experience. It engages our physical senses beyond just our eyes and ears. And to conceptualize and expand on this idea, she coined the term haptic visuality. Haptic perception is usually defined by psychologists as the combination of tactile, kinesthetic, and proprioceptive functions, Marx writes. The way we experience touch, both on the surface of and inside our bodies. In haptic visuality, the eyes themselves function like organs of touch. This, as she continues, is different from the way we usually conceive of optic visuality, or just regular vision, which is more about perceiving depth and spatial dimensions and about observing from a distance. Optical visuality depends on the separation between the viewing subject and the object. Haptic looking tends to move over the surface of its object, rather than to plunge into illusionistic depth. Not to distinguish form so much as to discern texture. It is more inclined to move than to focus, more inclined to graze than to gaze. As you may have noticed, Marx is actually building on the concept of perceptual realism here. She's not looking to replace it, but rather to offer another dimension to it. To simplify it somewhat, haptic visuality can be seen as an extension of the earlier discussed perceptual mechanisms through which we engage with cinema, as if suggesting that the relationship between the two can be even more intimate, more sensual, than initially assumed. And indeed, if we take another look at some of those earlier deep focus long-shot compositions, the two concepts do seem to enhance each other quite well, as those same elements that allowed me to visually map out the three-dimensionality of the image are also the ones that let me feel its textures, that have an undeniable haptic quality to them by being so richly detailed and focused.
This is why I advocate for 3D movies, because they draw you in better than anything ever.
And inversely, it's because I can sense the material presence of the image, because I can so clearly imagine myself touching the grass and have such a visceral response to that playful fluidity of water, that the entire space also feels much more three-dimensional and immersive. Here we can explore some additional filmmaking techniques that create haptic images, or images that invoke a haptic response in the audience, such as literal depictions of touch. But even without directly depicting any touching hands, extreme close-ups on their own can already be quite effective at invoking a sensory response. Think for example of how Andrei Tarkovsky likes to slowly gaze over richly detailed environments in a kind of tactile contemplation. Or how Paul Thomas Anderson often invites you to study the intimate minutiae of his actors' faces. Here we can also redeem the cinematic look somewhat, as a shallow depth of field can serve to highlight specific haptic elements within an image. Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver, for example, feels a lot more dreamlike than those classic, more plainly realistic-looking movies I showed earlier. Yet to me, it is still a movie that feels tactile and immersive. And I think it's in large part because of shots like these that add a distinct texture to its setting, that make you feel like you can reach out and feel the wetness of rain on a cold metal surface as if your eyes are indeed organs of touch. Invoking the elements in general is an undeniably powerful tool for immersion. Scorsese also does this really well in Silence, where the kinetic force of tidal waves feel just a bit too real for comfort.
Wow.
Similarly, I'm also always taken aback a little whenever a movie shows a real raging fire, as if I had gotten so used to the image of computer-generated ones that I almost forgot how powerful the sight of an actual one really is.
Wait, not that one.
And the same goes for the power of wind, which Béla Tarr, for example, often uses to heighten the sensory sting of his already harsh and dreary landscapes. Lastly, on a more meta-visual level, an image itself can be given a certain texture through grain and artifacts, which are naturally baked into the image when shooting on real film, and which is probably where the link between realism and indexicality came from. But nowadays this can also be done digitally to varying degrees, depending on what the filmmaker wants. And indeed, most digitally shot movies have at least a subtle layer of grain to add some basic texture to their image.
Wow.
Though there are also those that take it a lot further, that make film grain an integral part of the image. Or somewhat inversely, that really lean into the specific kind of noise that digital cameras can produce, especially in low-light settings. The reason why haptic visuality is so effective and so important for making movies feel more real and vivid is because touch is simply an extremely powerful human sensation. It is the first sense we develop in the womb, and as newborns, it is not just the primary sense through which we start exploring the world around us, but it's also vital for bonding and for emotional regulation, which is to say that touch is something that also works its way back, that to touch is also to receive. And Marx's concept of haptic visuality understands this as well. It assumes a more dynamic, two-way connection between subject and object. Instead of maintaining a separation by merely regarding an image from a distance, you generate a feedback by coming in close. The touched object offers resistance, it has a certain feel to it, which then impresses itself back on the touching subject. It's kind of like how a breaking of the fourth wall can flip the direction of the cinematic gaze, making it feel as if you as the spectator is suddenly the one who's being watched. And besides eliciting rather concrete sensations of matter, texture, and structure, this effect can also invoke more abstract sensory realities. An image can prompt within the body what in philosophy is known as qualia, as a feeling of what it is like. Take the scene from Sorcerer, where a guy has a drink in a rundown bar.
On a less memey thing, by the way, this concept of like things existing in a certain space and interacting with each other and having back and forth, in my opinion, is the number one barrier that games have made basically zero progress on in the past, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. Even as polygon count increases and volumetric shaders and shadows and lighting and dynamic, whatever else bullshit, I still feel like when I'm watching two models interact with each other that there is no physical contact, like one hand could pass through the other. I'm sure people are working on it, or maybe that's much more difficult to solve computationally for whatever reason, but like that is, I think that is like the number one thing that prevents me from ever feeling like what I'm watching is even remotely real. How so? Can you elaborate? Like when one character puts their hand on another character's shoulder, it doesn't feel like two real things are interacting. It feels like he has to put his hand out and then put it down in a certain area, and there's no resistance. There is no interaction from one thing to the next. Like swords clipping through your armor, shoulder pads clipping through capes, hair clipping through literally fucking everything. I feel like it's like the number one barrier to looking at a thing, be like, wow, this looks super real, or feels good or whatever.
in a humid tropical location. The camera is close on the skin, the lighting is sharp, both of which help to emphasize the textures of the characters' faces, emphasize the sweat, the grit, the imperfections, which in turn gives the audience a visceral impression not just of those specific material elements, but also of the more general feeling of what it is like to be in that place, to be in that humidity, that oppressive, inescapable heat. Now for contrast, let's look at Rebirth one more time, which has a similar scene in a tropical setting, but which to me at least doesn't come nowhere close to invoking that same feeling. The medium shots don't bring us close enough to read the faces of the actors, and even if they did, the flat lighting and vanity makeup make them look way too clean anyways, which is another issue that plagues many modern movies. Everyone's just way too pretty now, which once again reminds us that ultimately all this is about much more than a set of filmmaking techniques. It's about purposefully trying to elicit a feeling, to make a meaningful connection to the audience, and to actively immerse them into...
Oof. I don't have like a ton of criticism for this because I didn't watch House of the Dragons over bullshit, so I can't have too valid of an opinion. But supposedly, Philosophy Tube or whatever, the character that she was playing was supposed to be some like pirate type figure or something, but like in the wait, what the fuck is this? I don't know what this is. Supposedly her character in like Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, sorry, House of the Dragon, I guess you can like, they have like perfectly like amazing veneers or whatever, and it is like, I saw people on the subreddit complaining about this, and the, what the Free Folk subreddit? Why the fuck am I here? I don't even know what the fuck character this was. I don't care. Don't take my word for it. Someone will link a video.
To a story. As Marx also points out, haptic visuality as we've discussed it so far is only the beginning. Touch is a sense located on the surface of the body. Thinking of cinema as haptic is only a step toward considering the ways cinema appeals to the body as a whole. And indeed, what I love about movies is that they can invoke deeper forms of realism, not just perceptual with regards to form and space, not just haptic in a material sense, but also in relation to states of being, to emotions, dreams, and memories. You know, the physicality of a panic attack, the nostalgia for a half-remembered past, childhood nightmares about being alone in the dark, all the more abstract interactions and subjective phenomena that define the human experience, and that can be articulated to great filmmaking, often by combining all these differing ideas of realism. For in the end, this deep immersion doesn't so much arise out of a single image, as much as it is created over the course of a carefully constructed continuation of them, with each shot, each scene building on the...
Very well. Let us meet this commander then.
Admiral Aloha. This is Tywin Lannister.
Sure thing, Andrew. Give me a minute.
Casterly Rock.
Well met, Lord Tywin.
Well met. Oh my god, that's the Hearthstone meme.
It's Thailand.
What sort of man are you?
I beg your pardon?
A poet. A philosopher.
Oh my god, get it? Because she's Philosophy Tube! You're
thin.
But also tall.
Get it? Sorry.
I will not sail with a man who cannot best me.
At what?
Proving.
You don't even say their face that much. What the?
Where you go?
What the?
Lord Thailand.
Oh. Okay.
The other, creating sensory dynamics and feedback loops that map out spaces, add details and textures, and that, in combination with attention to other aspects of filmmaking, you know, makeup, wardrobe, set dressing, sound design, music, and so on, can make a story come alive in a way that feels more immersive, more vivid, and more impactful than the sum of its various technical parts. And that's what we're going for, right? To be transported, to be moved, to be touched, to feel like we just watched something meaningful, that we just experienced something real. The kind of care and intentionality that makes for great and meaningful cinematic experiences, however, doesn't just limit itself to the actual filmmaking itself. It's the structures around it, the platforms where we watch movies, that also help us to navigate, cultivate, and celebrate the art of cinema. And whenever I know I want to watch something with intention, whenever I'm feeling truly curious, that's when I turn to Mubi.
Whoa!
Mubi is a curated online cinema streaming hand-picked movies from around the globe.
Oh my
They offer a vast library of great movies from iconic directors to emerging auteurs, and from timeless masterpieces to hidden gems and festival favorites. Recently, they've acquired a fascinating miniseries on Mussolini's rise to power. I just watched the first few episodes, but it's really something else. Its narrative is both grounded within real historical footage and simultaneously heightened with that classic Italian theatricality and with Mussolini directly talking to you in the audience.
Il fascismo, una creatura bellissima.
It feels as if the entire cinematic language serves to emphasize how the evolution of fascism was really just driven by charisma and emotionality. Main actor Luca Marinelli, who you might have seen in The Eight Mountains or in Death Stranding 2, is absolutely transformative here as the Italian dictator, and delivers a truly magnetic performance while also never letting you forget that in the end, this is a portrait of evil. Anyways, I'm excited to watch the rest of it, and if you want to check it out as well, you can sign up using my personal link, that's mubi.com/storiesofvault, to try Mubi for free for 30 days. So be sure to claim your extended free trial to start your free month of great cinema today.
It's like the... Never mind. Based. Okay. All right. We're done with the memes. Oh. What do you want? Bitch.
Hello. It's been a minute.
Jesus. Okay. What do you want?
Sorry. Because you read some of the Comey stuff, right?
Yep. Enough of it. All of it.
I see. I've heard you get asked a few times about like the potential for him to be reindicted or the case to be brought back because it was dismissed without prejudice.
Yeah, I think they might have like 6 months or some rule or whatever, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I saw you read that rule too. The judge in the order addresses that exact rule and pretty much shoots it down, like the prospect of it getting of that 6 month grace period, because there's Fourth Circuit precedent. Obviously, like Virginia's in Fourth Circuit. There's binding Fourth Circuit precedent that if an indictment is dismissed because the indictment was obtained unlawfully, that grace period can't be used. Is from U.S. versus.
Well, that makes sense, so that you couldn't just like falsely or bullshitly.
Yeah, you can't keep getting illegal indictments to like maintain the statute of limitations.
Wait, I wonder if I skipped over this part.
It's on page 26 of the indictment.
Hold on. What part do you think says that? Oh, wait, this is in the footnote.
Look at footnote 21, and then so that like that's him like just giving the quotations, and then like right after that, he does like the description of why that would be applicable here. There's a unlawfully obtained indictment, and if the indictment is unlawfully obtained, then you can't use that grace period.
Gotcha.
This is just Fourth Circuit precedent, but like Virginia is Fourth Circuit, so this is going to be binding on this case.
Sure. I gotcha. Okay.
You keep getting asked about it, and you're going to keep getting asked about it. There's the answer you can direct people towards. Now, like obviously, it's possible for the Fourth Circuit to undo that for this case, or make up some bullshit reason why it wouldn't be applicable, or for this in a theoretical world, the Supreme Court could do it. I don't know if this would get to them, but yeah, it could be undone. But as of now, I don't think Comey can be reindicted.
Gotcha. Damn. Well. Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with I don't know how close were we on the Letitia James.
James's case is going to be different. So she, this it probably isn't. This wouldn't work here. I don't even know if her statute of limitation on her charges is up. But he kind of addresses that too. If you read like between like pages 24 to like 27, he kind of like he does I don't even know if it'd be 24 yet. But like in this section of the ruling, he goes over, he addresses this because he knows it's going to come up of like, well, are they just going to reindict both these guys immediately? So the judge kind of goes out of his way to address both these or the arguments as it relates to both of them.
Okay.
But James is probably going to get reindicted. But Comey should be off the hook. Should be.
Was she indicted in the same
in EDVA, yeah.
By Lindsay?
Yep.
They have to find another prosecutor to do it then, no?
Yep, there's someone else. It would have to be somebody else, but I mean, it's the Trump admin.
Do they even have another acting prosecutor here that can do it?
That can or would. I mean, like anyone could, but will they is kind of the question.
Well, considering the last ones that could have done this all resigned, and now they're using Halligan, I feel like this is like their last ditch effort. Like they would have to, and they can't do any more special appointments. They have to get somebody confirmed by the Senate.
If they do, they're going to run it. If they're going to run headfirst in the exact same brick wall, if they just try to, do a temporary appointment again. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But like for James, she probably can be reindicted. The problem here is going to be finding a prosecutor that'll do it, and then all of her motions for vindictive prosecution were already solid. Like they were already pretty good stuff. But for them, a lot of the evidence was based on the fact that they had to try so fucking hard to get a prosecutor that would even agree to indict her, and they would have to do it again. So now you'd have 2 instances that she could point to of them like begging for a prosecutor specifically that would be willing to indict her specifically. So I'm like, even if they were to find a lackey that would do it, like her evidence for vindictive prosecution is so good at this point. And it would be even stronger after them doing it twice.
Of discourse.
Okay.
So I don't know, but Comey should be off the hook. That's like the main point here. People are going to keep asking, like, if they're just going to bring the charges again. But if like precedent gets followed that already exists, then no, he'll be just fine.
All right. Well, rip on to these, I guess. Then, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one.
I'll be careful.
Love you too. Stay safe.
Bye. Fucking nerd. What is that? Somebody said I got brought up in this video.
How often do we hear that everything is art? That a lamp can be art? Well, of course it can, but not because the lamp falls into the category of anything can be art, but that the lamp could be made with mastery and passion, that it transcends beyond its very materialism. The argument that anything can be art is supposed to be because everything has the potential to become everlasting, not because art is to be diminished to the lowest common denominator. This dismantling of what art is has completely inverted our expectations of it.
Why? What is the fascination with this guy? I feel like there's 3 people in chat that have spammed 50 million times. The James Fishback guy is trying to run for Florida governor. I don't want me to say it. Yeah, obviously I don't support it. I don't know what. I don't understand how this is being spammed so many times in my chat. Holy shit. Jesus.
And it's resulted in people thinking about art to be something of the lowest effort. It's sad because art discourse has devolved into such levels of illiteracy that it's more accurately defined now as media commentary. The problem is that it often devolves into an infinite chamber of examination and scrutiny over all of the things occurring in the absolute immediate with no grasp of past or present. It's an economy of discourse created and perpetuated by the least qualified to discuss such matters.
These are like my top 3 classic, amazing, best movies. I think that these are good litmus tests for humans too, in that like if anybody has a major issue.
Oh my god. Why does it have, what do I say? What are my 3? It's like the fucking School of Rock, the Pirates of the Caribbean, and the Matrix? Seriously?
With any of these 3 movies, I think that they're dead inside. Number 1, okay, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one.
How can you understand the culture without understanding art, without reading the classics?
Good one, Chief.
Without being able to name a couple of paintings. The inevitable result is a hyperfixation on the superficial and a gradual drift away from any human endeavor that could be considered transcendent.
If you trace a line from David's face, down his arm, through the sword, and toward Goliath's head, you get a diagonal that cuts across the entire canvas. Remember that you can find this artwork, and many more, in our catalogue. You'll find faithful reproductions, ready to hand. We also offer phone cases.
Why is he using such creepy music?
So you can protect your device while carrying a piece of art with you wherever you go.
People want their opinions to have equivalence, and the result is that when you have the ability to speak, all manner of discourse becomes a matter of subjective opinion. And then there is no truth. That some guy interviewing a social media personality on YouTube is also now a documentary. Like, have you not seen Shoah? Do you know what a documentary is? And thus comes that wonderful conclusion that anything can be art, and art is subjective. We in turn come to the natural consequences of this illiteracy that are disseminated like their gospel truth.
You didn't have to be able to paint the Hayway by Constable to be an artist. That it was punk, and it was DIY, and those things I was passing, thinking, I can do that. Then the thought became, well, why shouldn't I?
Representation becomes a critical pillar of art, a notion most espoused by those who've never...
Well, I don't want to make a strong statement about this video because I'm not going to watch all of it. I will say that especially going to music school, there is sometimes a huge disconnect between the academic artistic world where people get very ass-pained that in popular culture, the art that is consumed by the masses is not the same as the art that you wish the masses could understand. But I'm pretty sure this is a product that's as old as time. Like, this has always been the case. Yeah, but... Rip. Okay. Okay, boring. Boring meme time. What? Hello? Okay. thought I just heard a circuit breaker flip. Never mind. It's the FBI. They're coming. Okay. Dinesh D'Souza. What's like the last... Let's see. What are the last movies or films he's made? Wait, link the poster. What is my debate with him about technically on the poster? Do I have a thing? Battle for the Capitol. Anti-Trump versus pro-Trump. I should email the guy and see exactly. Is there a specific topic list provided to D'Souza for our debate? Five other conspiracist films? Wow, we got a major hater here. Is there like a filmography or something, Phil? Or it's probably under works, huh? All right. I've watched 2,000 Mules. We've got Police State. 1 month ago. Wait, 2 months ago. Vindicating Trump. Oh my God. And he's got it all on YouTube. Wow.
In my opinion,